Dear students, I am Mahmudul Hassan, Mahmud sir, once again with you for delivering a lecture on to the topic of first paper, and topic name is cell wall. Look, cell wall is very important feature for the plant cell, and it is the unique feature of plant cell. And when you are going to describe the structure of cell wall, on that time you have to see some unique features. First of all, it is the first line of the cell wall. You can say it is the middle lamellum, and this middle lamellum will have some composition. You must know their names. So first layer is the middle lamellum. Middle lamellum. Lamellum. This structure, observed by a scientist Robert Hooke in the year of 1665. On that time, exactly he was described the structure of cell, but nowadays you can say it is the structure of cell wall, and cell wall contains three layers. First layer is the middle lamellum. Middle lamellum contains some chemical composition, and their chemical composition is pectic acid, and phragmoplast. My dear students, this kind of chemicals name you must remember. Why? Because here from there are many MCQ for your admission test as well as for your HSC exam will come. So obviously you have to remember this, but I will give you some example how you can remember this thing. Look, another important layer that can be developed over the middle lamellum is the first lining. You can say it is the primary cell wall. It is the primary cell wall. Okay, cell wall. So primary cell wall is not continuous, rather it is discontinuous layer. So again I am drawing another layer besides the first one. First one is primary layer. So the layers that are sequentially developed over the middle lamellum all will be considered as the primary layer. So over the primary layer sometimes can be developed additional layer for giving the rigidity. You must know cell wall is such a kind of structure, it is non-living, and it is unique feature for the plant cell and only found in plant cell. Okay, the layer that has no primary layer, there has no chance to develop another or additional layer that you are considering as secondary cell wall. Okay, secondary cell wall. Secondary cell wall basically contains three layers. The first layer you can see it is the primary layer of secondary cell wall, and if it is developing another lining over this layer, on that time you can say it is the secondary layer of secondary cell wall. When it develops another one, you can say it is the tertiary layer of secondary cell wall. So secondary cell only contains these three layers for giving such a kind of rigidity. You can understand how a plant becomes so harder. Okay, so now I am just giving you some example. Suppose you are observing a plantlet. Suppose a mango plantlet. On the plantlet means the sapling of the plants or the young plants. So when you are touching the younger part of the plant, on that time it has chance to become broken. And why it is broken? Because only primary layer is present there. So here from you can get the concept or get the idea, primary cell wall has no rigidity. When it develops this kind of lining over the primary layer, suppose it is the first lining over the primary layer, on that time it is getting such a kind of hardness. That is why you can use some device to cut the plant. Suppose when you are taking the plant and you are bending it, on that time it can be broken, because this structure has some rigidity, and rigid structure never can be flexible, rather it will be broken. When additional lining will develop over it as second lining of secondary cell wall, on that time it will give more rigidity. That is why you have no chance to keep it bending. That is why it remains straight. On that time only solid materials, very sharp. Suppose you can take very hard armors for cutting the plant. When it develops the third lining, on the time it will be so tough, so hard, only saw can separate the plant parts. So no chance to broke it by your hands, no chance to broke it by the hammers and other hard device. Only you can cut this thing, with the help of saw. That is why this kind of intensity of hardness will develop. So my question is that which chemical or which materials helps to doing this kind of activities? So look, I am telling you the middle lamellum, it is very soft part of the cell wall and it is semi-liquid in nature. Semi-solid in nature, you can say in opposite way. So only two composition, pactic acid and phlegmoplast are the composition, as it is containing the acidic materials and acid always will be the liquid. So liquid things when are present with the solid, on the time it has some chance to produce a suspension like things. For that reason it is semi-solid in nature. But when it develops the primary layer, over the middle lamellum, when it develops the primary cell wall contains some kind of chemicals. One of them is cellulose, another one is hemicellulose, and the last one hemicellulose, and the last one is the glycoprotein. So these are the chemical composition of primary cell wall. So this cellulose, hemicellulose and glycoprotein can give some sort of rigidity, but it is not the highest. But when it develops the primary layer over the secondary cell wall, on the time additional some hard chemicals can be added, like suberin, okay, like lignin and pectins, that is very solid, okay, pectins. Look, pactic acid is liquid in form, pectins are solid in nature. Look, sodium chloride, it is solid in nature, but sodium, the composition that is added with the hydroxyl group, on the time it is forming sodium hydroxide, and sodium hydroxide, it is not solid in nature. Similarly, pactic acid is liquid in nature, but when it remains as pectins, on the time it will be solid in nature. Probably you got the point. So when this kind of hard structure or hard chemicals will be added with the cellulose, hemicellulose and glycoproteins, it will give some sort of extra rigidity. For that reason, plant structure or plant body will be more rigid. Another important thing is that thus additional second layer, or you can say it is the secondary cell wall. Exactly, you should say secondary cell wall comprising three layers. First and second thing you have to discard it. And after that the third layer you can see it is the tertiary layer. So never alliteration will happen like primary secondary cell wall, secondary cell wall. It is not good way to express. For that reason you have to say only The third layer is the tertiary layer. And tertiary layer when forms in many organisms or many plants, on the time the additional composition will be xylans. So xylans is a kind of hard chemicals, especially it is carbohydrate in nature, or you can say it is the polysaccharide structure. When it will be deposited more and more, and it giving the more rigidity. For that reason, when you are touching your body, it will have some flexibility. That is why when you pressing, it is doing an invagination. When you are retrieving your hand, on that time it coming back. That is why you can see it is the flexibility. But in case of plant, you have no chance to give any pressure. When you are putting pressure, on the time it has no chance to become forming invagination. For that reason, it never will be back also. That is why this kind of chemicals, cellulose, hemicellulose, glycoprotein, found only in the primary layer. Additional suberin, lignin, pectins is present in the second layer of the secondary cell wall. And when the tertiary layer are formed, on the time xylans are present. So this way you have to remember their names, okay? And after that you should see the other part also. So all the part where the primary layer is present, secondary lining also will be developed. So secondary lining has three certain layers. You can say these are the three unique layers. Similar kinds of things are present in the other side too. Suppose it is the other part of another cell, another cells. That is why here also the primary layer is present. So about the primary layer, secondary layer will be developed, and secondary layer will have three certain parts. So this way you can say it is the third lining of the secondary cell wall. Similarly, you should say it is the primary lining, and after that you are developing the secondary lining. Secondary lining will have three parts, 1, 2 and 3. This way sometimes some part you can see where there has no primary layer, no secondary cell wall, only the middle lamellum is present. So only the middle lamellum is present in this direction. You can say it is the pit. So this pit may be sometimes present separately, or sometimes some pit can be adjacent. So here I am drawing another pit in opposite direction that can be remain as adjacent part. So it is another pit. When two pit remain adjacent, on that time through this lining the composition of cells, especially that are liquid or semi-permeable, that can be exchanged through these pit pairs. As these pit pairs are forming a communicating route, for that reason you can say it is the plasmodesmata. So my dear students, plasmodesmata in plant cell, plasmodesmata in plant cell is happened due to presence of adjacent pit pair. Otherwise you never can see, you never can observe this kind of pit pair. When it will be adjacent, on that time only plasmodesmata can form. So here from I can say you another important thing, that is this structure of cell wall, how it is present in cell. Suppose here you are observing a plant cell. Suppose it is a plant cell and it is only the cell membrane. Around the cell membrane there has some additional rigid structure. You can say it is the cell wall. Look, when you are observing the multicellular organism, they will have another cell besides it. That is why it is another cell. So cell wall always remaining present in between the cells as a common lining. Okay, so cell wall is the common layer of two cells. When you are thinking this red color is a cell, this black color is another cell, the yellow color part will be the common lining, and this common layer of plant cell will be the cell wall. Again, I am giving you another example. Within the cell wall, which layer is common? Which layer is showing common features or common parts? That is only the middle lamellum. So my dear students, it is very important topic for your admission test. If in your question asking a question in this way, which is the common lining of plant cell, on that time your brain is stormed and the answer will be cell wall. You are thinking, but sometimes you have to look at the option. Sometimes you will see the option is in a option you are observing the middle lamellum. So middle lamellum is the common lining, it is the more correct thing, although cell wall also the correct answer, but cell wall in a broad sense you can say it is cell wall, but in a microscopic vision or in a short form you should say it is the middle lamellum. So my dear students, take care of your health. Here you are just studied about the physical structure of cell wall. Okay, probably within very short period of time we are taking class 1, the cell membrane, another important topic. Stay connected with us. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.